So my first addiction was video games. Of course, it was too fun to be an addiction. How could it possibly get out of hand? I got my first iPod Touch, second generation to be exact. I never went anywhere without it, and without any internet restrictions or monitoring, I made social media a coexisting addiction along with video games, although at the time I didn't view it that way. My third addiction, unfortunately, was junk food when I hit adolescence. Whatever money I would scrounge up every weekend, I would spend for a blowout of chips and whatever I could find appealing. Looking back at it, now I see it as an instant gratification technique and another escape. Shortly thereafter, as I went on, I got obsessed with my body image. My fourth, but definitely not last or least, was self-harm. I figured if I could reinforce the tolerance to any kind of suffering that I would be okay. It was like a rush doing something so bad for my body. The rebellion in me at the time as I was still growing was incomprehensible and overwhelming. I grew to love the fact that I hated myself, leading to a downward spiral of self-loathing and tormenting myself unnecessarily. The fifth addiction was weed. It was like I could finally be in the moment and take a break from the hold that my problems in life had on me, including my loathing. All the answers for inner peace came to me instead of me going to it. 6. Not long after I experienced my first blackout, I wasn't conscious from the haunting entities in my mind. It was like a big Band-Aid was put over top of all my cuts. Definitely a developing alcoholic if you ask me. 7. I felt like I always needed more shortly after. It was a perfect escape. Another fast-forward drink, then I felt I was good. If I didn't want to be present and embrace the journey, then I tried to cheat my way through the difficulties on this walk of life with alcohol. A couple years later down the road is when my addictive cycle really took hold. I let a childhood in from Sudbury, what I nickname now the Sioux, move in with me. I was on and off smoking weed. It was a habit for so long that I didn't think much of it, even without company, just as long as I wasn't alone. We were shoplifting liquor from the LCBO on the outskirts of the city to support our habits at the time. We also found an outlet, a friend to sell us exotic stuff. It wasn't weed, it was iced coffee. We immediately fell in love with the experiences on it and made it a regular thing, just as if we were smoking weed. It's sad how fast something can become the new normal in routines. Looking back at it, it was just a lack of dopamine and fulfillment in other areas of our life that we sought out this mundane habit. Sooner or later, relationships in every aspect of life were breaking apart. Situations turned bad, mainly over petty rivalries and outlooks on each other for getting worse. Due to the fact we were all getting addicted at our own pace, we started to turn on our backs each other. Then we fell apart, leading us in all directions toward isolation. The toughest thing for me to believe at the end was the sheer lack of emotions I was supposed to feel. Yeah, sure, I went through heartbreak, also experiencing betrayal from the ones I loved most. But what was even worse than that, I wasn't able to feel the heartbreak. In a sense, I guess that was a good thing, because I know it would accentuate the moments I would have later on. I had such an intimate experience with the hallucinations that I was experiencing as well. I was seeing alternate dimensions in the reflection of my window, shadows of people who were deceased, all sorts, and yet knowing it was out of my control, I tend to enjoy my deluded self and thinking the entities in my head could finally come to life, and that I was perceivably no longer alone. I ended up at a homeless shelter, which was really no surprise. I couldn't even be angry with myself. What did I expect? I was with supposed bad people and I was using. I don't view it that way anymore. The perspective shift is a blessing. To be more understanding and tolerant of the negativity around me, I now view them as lost and broken, just like I once was. I decided abruptly that enough was enough. The paranoid delusions were getting to me. The anxiety and fear motivated me to give myself an ultimatum. Either I sober up and live to tell the tale, or I stay addicted and the tale tells itself about me. Ever since that ultimatum, I sought out help. Constant improvement, development, and learning. Anything that would help me become a better version of myself from the day before. From the social workers at the shelter I was staying at the time, I found this lovely rehab out of town in Ottawa. Knowing it was foreign territory, I was excited for the freedom to recreate my life. I got sober a month before and leaving for Ottawa while I was in the shelter, and I still think to this day that definitely wasn't in my own power. That wasn't like me to try. I now volunteer with gratitude here at this lovely establishment. I don't perceive it as that, though. I see it as more of a big family. As bad as my biased preconceptions are on family, I'm really happy I get to continue to be a part of this amazing journey alongside you all. Oh, sorry. Yeah, y'all have managed to burrow a place in what's left of my hollow heart. I'm learning more about myself every day and learning new principles like how to easily take care of myself and love me the way I need to be loved. Constant improvement just happens to come naturally, I guess. My definition of happiness is the way I can be of service and the way I can help people with practical advice. With listening, relaying emotional intuition, and most importantly, the knowledge I can share onto the next group of friends and suffering I make. Although suffering is optional depending on how you look at it. And that's pretty much all it is. Thank you guys.